Um, the reason why I wanted to have you on is to talk about men and women and the capital M masculine and the capital F feminine, because you have such a unique perspective. I see you as someone who's on the front lines. Give us an overview of where you're at with this these days.
Ah, um, I mean, really, I've been working directly with men for 30 years because I do count being naked in a man's lap as working with him
Mm-hmm.
because you learn a lot, right? All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, like guys like to talk. Maybe it's because my top is off, but guys really do like to talk and they like to be seen and listened to, right? And so that's when I started to figure out, oh, it's almost like I'm a naked therapist and I can just charge by the half hour type of thing. So
And
I
in
feel,
what capacity were you naked and on men's laps?
oh, the uh, temple dancing, stripping, lap dancing, that sort of thing. So,
Okay, cool.
um,
But I have to ask you because I'm always curious to know, like, what your presentation was, like what your costumes were, like what your kind of archetype was when you were doing that work.
I designed my own costumes. I loved a good halter top at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think back in the day, it's funny because I was into harder music. Like that was like a lot of like kind of heavy metal and stuff. So I would dance to
Nice.
metal, which is so funny because it doesn't look like I would be. But at the time, occasionally I still like that again. But
Okay, cool.
so
Thank you.
I think I have like a kind of a 30-year, I mean, oh God, it's probably more than 30 years now, actually, arc
Yeah.
of like, working with men. And then of course I'm aging and maturing and evolving as so I do feel like I have a different perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And can you walk us through the trajectory? Like I know that you had a Kundalini awakening. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that influenced your path?
Yeah, that changed everything. That definitely changed everything. So at the time, I was actually very involved in comedy in
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this big Kundalini awakening. And the way that I like to describe it is it felt like I was being made love to by the divine.
And did it happen spontaneously? Like, what were you doing in the moment?
I was working with my spiritual teacher in Marina Del Rey at the time, and he just said, look into my eyes and breathe. And there was a lot of emotional pain that preceded that, which I think helps to get, catalyze awakenings, of course.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I felt my heart open. I went straight out, and I was seeing like DNA strands going by me. And God, I get like the goosebumps thinking about it, even though it was so long ago. And I heard laughter come out of me that wasn't my laughter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I was being laughed.
Ooh.
And I think like laughter's my thing. I love to laugh and I love being funny. So now I feel like the pressure is going to be on for me to be funny for this. But
No
um,
pressure.
so the Kundalini awakening. So when you have one, you're given a gift. And at that time, it's kind of like if your body's like a computer, it's like the universe puts new software in.
Mm-hmm.
So I got like the Tantra sexual healer software.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very strange because all of a sudden people were showing up in my life to be healed that had sexual problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I it's not like I had a web. I don't. Do we even have websites? Like in 2006 we had them, I think, but I didn't even have a website. Literally, like, oh, I got your name from someone at the gym. I need to come see you. And I'm thinking, okay, I didn't even know what to charge. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I just kind of how I do everything is I just jump in and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that just kept growing and evolving over the years.
And so I mean, 30 years and in obviously in different capacities, like working with men, what have you learned about men that most of us don't know? And how have you seen men shift throughout this period?
Hmm. Boy, I know it's not good to have dead air on interviews, but man, that's like such a huge question. I think that I would what probably say in the last 4 years, I mean, we're seeing a mass awakening of the feminine
Mhm.
that is requiring the masculine to step up
Mhm.
in a way that had not really preceded this.
Mhm. And how do you see, we'll go slowly. How do you see this mass awakening of the feminine?
Well, I think first of all, it was energetic,
Mhm.
right? And then that manifests physically. I know you're a quantum person.
Mhm.
And I think the Me Too movement was a manifestation of that.
Mhm. And so how did you, because I know that you have men's groups and women's groups, is that correct?
Yeah, women's group for business,
Mhm.
which is very different, and men's group for the ED work, sexual healing, relationship stuff, dating stuff, all that.
Yeah. And so from your perspective, was it like men were kind of where they were until this women's awakening and now men are showing
They,
up differently?
well, they have to.
Okay.
They're being required to. I mean, they don't have a choice. It's kind of like be alone or step up.
Mhm.
I think it's still very polarizing.
Yeah.
It's slowly becoming not a man's world
Mhm.
in a lot of ways. And I know a lot of men would say it's never been a man's world. But I think if they were in a female body, they would say that differently.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, I think there's a lot changing, but it's men have to really rise. I mean, if you look back over the years, who's been in all the spiritual pursuits? It's been predominantly women that are into spirituality and grow and personal growth, and there's been a critical mass of us. So,
Mhm.
right. So now
Yeah.
with, of course, compassion,
Mhm.
ideally, right? Now it's like, okay, we want to invite you to rise.
Mhm. And so are you seeing men more willing to do this kind of work and to step into deeper realms of spirituality, self-awareness?
Yeah, and what's cool is, there's two different options to work with me. There's privately, and then there's the men's group.
Mhm.
And guys are like, "Oh my God, I've been wanting to be in a men's group. This is great." And and I don't know if I even would have heard that, because I've been doing this particular work for 15 years. I don't think I would have heard that 15 years ago.
Mhm.
So I think men's groups are also becoming more popular. I think men in a lot of ways are so much more isolated
Mhm.
than women are. So
Mhm.
there's definitely appeal to being in a men's group. And what's nice, I feel like I'm in a position of privilege
Mhm.
because I'm a female running a men's group.
Yeah. Speak more about that. Like,
It's different. It's different. You know, guys can be, oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional because it's so beautiful to watch. Oh, guys can be getting goosebumps.
oh.
Um, so helpful
Mhm.
and tender to each other.
Mhm.
And that's what I see in the group. I've been doing it for 3 years, and
Mhm.
I honestly had no idea if any guys would even come into it.
Mhm.
It was like people are like, "There's no way guys are going to do this," and it's been really taking off, and it's been a great experience for everyone involved. But guys are really even helping other guys and guiding other guys in the group, and there might be some nights where I just lean back
Mhm.
and they're giving each other guidance, and I'm like, cool, I'll chime in every now and then, right? To keep everything directed. And I think the other interesting thing, because I feel like on some level you may have wanted to touch on polarity today.
Totally.
And I was just teaching on Polarity Monday for my group. So I'm really in the masculine position as the group leader. Like I really am kind of like the top dog, right?
Yeah.
So they're in the receptive and I'm in the directive.
Hmm.
So for me, it's really interesting to be in that place, but also to stay in my feminine while I'm in that place.
Hmm. And is
So
that a source of tension for you? Does that come naturally for you to hold both?
I I can definitely hold both. And what that looks like for me, because it's a tricky thing to articulate. Uh, oh my gosh. Okay. When someone's asking me a question from their ego and challenging me, it's very tempting to engage my mind or my ego.
Hmm.
But I can still be in a place of authority and speak from my intuition and my heart.
Mm.
So like, oh, I just got goosebumps on
Yeah,
goosebumpy today.
that really landed.
Okay, yeah. So that's really, I think, the trick with female leadership,
Hmm.
right? Because you're going to be challenged. You will not, anyone in a leadership position is going to be challenged, whether you're with, I have my women's group, right, too. So I have both polarities. And in my women's group, I'm very much a disciplinarian
Hmm.
in a lot of ways.
So are you showing up more so in your masculine with the women's group than in the feminine?
Until it's my turn to speak.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm holding the container, right? In both situations, I've created the field. I'm holding the container. I'm attracting in. But when it's my turn to share in the women's group, I'm definitely in my feminine.